Lost the House and 6 Senate seats on November 2nd, but you might not know it from their lame duck agenda. Majority Leader Harry Reid has told Republicans that in a mere 3 weeks, he wants to pass a food safety bill, the Immigration Dream Act, a repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell for gays in the military, a 9/11 Rescue Workers Relief Act, a spending bill for fiscal 2011, an extension of some Bush-era tax cuts, and estate tax reform. Not to mention the New START nuclear treaty with Russia. So what will he actually get done? Joining the panel this week, Wall Street Journal columnist and deputy editor Dan Henninger, senior economics writer Steve Moore, and Washington columnist Kim Strassel. So Kim, how much of this list is really serious, or is Harry Reid just trying to placate his left flank?
Well, this is how they got in this situation, as Harry Reid put up all of these things to gin up enthusiasm among the liberal base prior to the election. And the plan was going to be to make them too toxic to get any Republican support and then blame Republicans for obstructionism.
That didn't work very well, Kim. But why
No.
do it now after the fact? That failed. But why do it now?
Well, now he's on the hook to some of these groups to actually make some progress. The reality is most of this is not going to pass. Any one of those items in and of themselves could take 3 weeks to debate and get through. They're going to end up having to focus on the stuff that is absolutely necessary. They are likely to pass this food safety bill, which is already teed up to get a vote. But then, you know, look, because Democrats ignored some of the big things this year, like passing appropriations bill, the government runs out of money at the end of next week.
Right,
so they're going to have to deal with, funding the government and probably the tax issue. I wouldn't expect much more.
All right, but Republicans still only have 41 Senate seats. They'll get 42 when Mark Kirk of Illinois comes, I think, late in November. But that means they can still only afford to lose those 2. I mean, if they lose those 2, then the Democrats have their 60 votes to pass something. So could they slip one or more of these items through?
You know, let's celebrate the really good news here, which is what's not on your list. Remember, a few months ago, we were warning that they would use this lame duck agenda to pass cap-and-trade legislation and union card check. And the good news is those are, looks like they're completely off the table. You're right that Democrats will make a big push to pass some of this stuff that they weren't able to get through during the regular session. But we shouldn't call this the lame duck session. We should call it the lame agenda session. And really the only thing, I agree with Kim, they're going to obviously have to pass a budget so we can fund the government for the next few months. And the big fight, of course, will be whether they can get those tax cuts extended before the first of the year.
Dan, why don't Republicans just say, no mas, right? You lost. We'll do it with the budget, and let's sit down and talk seriously about the tax issue, because those expire. Those lower rates expire within a month, December 31st. And that means withholding would have to change as of January 1st. So tens of millions of Americans would see their taxes go up.
Yeah, well, I agree that I think that's exactly what the Republicans should do, push the discussion over to taxes, which I suspect the Democrats don't want to talk about, but they have to talk about it. They just lost the Congress, and now they're going to allow taxes to rise on the American people on January 1st. It just can't happen, though they may go down that route. Now, I think the Democrats are dug in on the upper bracket thing. They say it will increase the deficit. They have somehow put their arms around the deficit as an issue. If they want that issue, they can have it. What the Republicans should do is say the tax cuts are about economic growth. The reason the American people just voted the way they did is because they want this economy growing again. And if we're going to do that, we need to continue these tax cuts for everybody.
Well, if Speaker Pelosi and Harry Reid allowed the taxes to come up for a vote, Steve, would the tax cuts extensions for, let's say, 2 years, 1 or 2 years, would they pass? You
know, Dan and I had this debate, I think, 2 weeks ago on the show, and I said I thought they would pass. I hate to say this. I'd never say that I'm wrong, but I'm kind of coming over to Dan's position. I think the left is digging in so much, Paul, on this issue. The unions, Center for American Progress, you saw Chuck Schumer has a bill saying only do it for people less than $1 million. I'm not sure the left will allow Nancy Pelosi or Barack Obama to get this done.
Well, but there are a lot of Democrats who aren't part of the left or don't want to appear anymore to be part of the left who would like to vote for with this. That's why I asked you if it could pass if it were put to an honest vote, because there are an awful lot of blue dogs who are going to run for re-election in 2 years, and there's a dozen senators who I think are rookie senators who are up in 2012, some from red states. So why won't they go along with the extension?
Because I think Pelosi will just say, you know, this is her last hurrah, and I think she's going to put down the iron fist. By the way, it's probably too late.
The iron fist, having lost 63 seats in the House.
This is
how iron is this fist? I mean, what?
But you know what? One last point about this: it's already too late to change the tax forms. You know, it's amazing. Here we are, what, 40 days from the start of the year? No business, no investor, no worker knows what their tax rates are going to be next year.
Well, everyone needs a way out of this dilemma that they've got. And I think we've talked about this. The deal that probably will be made is unemployment benefits expire on November 30th. The Democrats will say, if you'll extend those unemployment benefits, we'll do the tax deal, and they all go home and tell their constituencies they did something for them.
Kim, I guess everybody's sitting around waiting for a signal from the president. The White House has been all over the map on this. If the president says, look, I'm willing to negotiate with the Republicans on say, a 2-year extension, then it would sail through, would it not?
I think absolutely. And then but we have not heard the president himself address this question of a deal. We've had some advisors come out and suggest that they might be open to it. The president himself has not made that statement. If he did, I had no question that this is something that both parties, there would be real numbers of members who would be happy to vote for this and kick that can down the road for another 2 years and go home.
But they had a meeting in the White House with the president on this tax issue.
Democrats
and the president,
did.
yes, and the president told them, you guys have to work out a compromise. He's doing the same thing he did on health care, dumping it onto Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and saying, you take responsibility.
That turned out so well.
Well, even though taxes would go up on January 1st, it wouldn't be so bad. Republicans would then come in and put a bill on the president's desk, or at least enforce. The House Republicans would pass it. The Senate would then have to consider it, and I think that could be one of their first achievements. That's true. Well, those looming tax